Well, I had a really fun time with Judy over the years as this book was being developed. And I can remember the early days when she first started working on it, or at least earnestly, and we'd have conversations back and forth. And one of the things that I was really impressed about was the process that she went through. And early on, telling this book, this story chronologically, and then she switched that up a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what made you go through that switching process there, Judy?
So as you said, Larry, the first try, I'm more of a didactic medical writer, and the first try I did was to go chronologically.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, I had things here, 19, the early period, then prelude to war, the war years, etc. And I tried writing this by person. And I started with Kati because she was the only one who was still alive and I could verify things off of her. And this was so important to her. And I wrote her story chronologically, and two things happened. One is after I wrote it, I looked back, I set it aside for a couple of weeks, and I went back and I read it, and it was so damn boring. I couldn't stand it. And if I felt that way about it, I knew that others would too.
I think that sets you apart from most writers. Most of us are in love with our words and our work. So the fact that you have that ability to do some introspection, I'm impressed.
Well, I knew I wasn't being the storyteller that you are. It was just very logical and structured that way. And then the other thing that happened is I got to the point where in Kati's story where after the war, she was going to marry my Uncle Alex. She was in love with him and going to marry him to keep the two families together because they thought that my mother had died. And I realized as I was writing this that I had been focusing on, just Kati chronologically. And so Shanya had never been introduced into the story or into the book at all. And so that wasn't going to work. And so what happened then is I realized that the two families were so intertwined, my father's family and my mother's, with all these different people, that you couldn't tell it chronologically, and you had to do it sort of by vignettes.